In September 2000, Prague welcomed the delegates of the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group. The sessions were held in the Congress Center in Prague's Pankráč district. The exceptionally challenging task of transporting delegates throughout the city was entrusted to the branch buses of the Prague Metropolitan Transport Company, joint stock company. Its very first task was to take delegates from Prague's Ruzyně airport to 31 hotels throughout the capital. For this purpose, a fleet of Volkswagen Caravella microbuses was laid on. A total of 25 special bus lines, some of them serving several hotels, were prepared. As many as 52 buses operated on these lines throughout the meetings. Another major task was regular transport of the delegates from their hotels to the Congress Center. There were 15 special lines connecting all the hotels with the exception of the Corinthia Towers, which is within walking distance, with Prague's Congress Center. In the morning, buses running on these lines carried delegates to the center, returning along their own routes. Later in the day, coming in regular intervals, they transported delegates in both directions. After the end of each session, they served as one-way links, taking delegates back to their hotels. Buses arriving at the hotels were marked with their line number and their route to the Congress Center. When departing from the center, their electronic orientation boards were switched off, leaving the buses unmarked. The Prague Metropolitan Transport Company also set up bus terminals near the Congress Center. Terminal A, that served the lines connecting the center with the hotels, was located at Pankráč Square, at the ramp leaving the north-south trunk road. Terminal B for buses carrying delegates from the Congress Center to the sites of various accompanying social events was at the corner of the streets Na Pankráci and Mikulášez Husy. The third Terminal C was prepared in the 5. Května street as a standby for various commercial events. The entire area around Prague's Congress Center was carefully marked with signs showing the delegates the way to the individual terminals. Buses arriving along Nuselský Bridge from the north of Prague, where most of the hotels were situated, came to Terminal A. Only 2 hotel lines coming to this terminal arrived along the 5. Května street. Every morning, 48 buses operated on the 15 lines connecting the hotels with the Congress Center. Only the low-floor Karosa Renault city buses were used on these lines. In the morning, between 7 and 11 a.m., buses arrived at Terminal A in 15-minute intervals. On average, buses brought the delegates to the Congress Center every 3 minutes. At the same time, the operation of these special purpose lines should in no way affect public bus transport on the regular lines elsewhere in the city. In the morning, delegates disembarked from their buses at Terminal A at a single stop. Traffic on all the special lines and other special purpose links was monitored and controlled from a temporary central control room in the Congress Center's casino. 12 dispatchers were assigned to alternate in this demanding service. Traffic in the terminals was monitored by a closed-circuit TV. Outside the peak hours, most of the buses were parked in the street Na Dolinách. Contrary to the original plan, alternative parking spaces could not be used due to security reasons. As many as 20 to 30 buses were parked in the street Na Dolinách, and even though this was a reserved space, their transport to the terminal at the Congress Center was never disturbed. The company's clearly arranged electronic information system proved to be particularly important for the buses arriving at the Congress Center. Its Terminal A was divided into 5 boarding sections, to which 3 to 5 buses arrived at a time, leaving jointly as instructed by the dispatcher. The afternoon departure period lasted from 6 to 9 p.m. Microbuses were used to provide local transport around the Congress Center, running primarily to the parking lot and to the accreditation center at Karlov. There were 6 round-trip bus lines distinguished by different colors. All in all, the transport company leased as many as 20 Caravella microbuses, which were also used on the line to Savoy Hotel. A prominent role was also played by the transport company's buses in transporting delegates to various social events accompanying the sessions. These left the Congress Center from its Terminal B, situated away from the main route. On the whole, 8 accompanying social events were held as part of the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group. These were mostly held in the city's historic center, which posed special demands to the transport organizers. A case in point was the welcoming ceremony at Žofín, given by the Czech Prime Minister. Transport to some of those events was provided not only from the Congress Center, but also from the individual hotels. Another example of the demanding transport organization to such events was the transport of the delegates to and from Prague's National Theatre. Departure from the individual hotels was a routine operation to a certain extent, as each delegate simply boarded a bus laid on at his or her hotel. Transport in the city center and parking of the buses was more complex, also because of the many protest demonstrations then underway in Prague. For their journey back to their hotels, it was essential for the delegates to find their correct bus easily and quickly. During the accompanying social events, a theatre performance in this case, the Prague Metropolitan Transport Company's personnel had to prepare a standby information system for temporary boarding stops for the delegates. On the whole, 280 bus drivers, 41 dispatchers and another 31 employees of the Prague Metropolitan Transport Company were involved in safeguarding bus transport during the annual sessions of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group in Prague. As many as 155 buses were laid on. They covered 196,763 kilometers through the streets of Prague. Even though the Prague Metropolitan Transport Company is known to have rich experiences in organizing and operating special transport services, for instance during the national mass gymnastic festivals such as the Spartakiads and Sokol rallies, the transport provided during the sessions of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group proved to be a unique operation, unprecedented in the history of the transport company. It is beyond any doubt that the immensely valuable experiences gained by the staff of the company's branch buses will be put to a good use during all the forthcoming special events to be held in the Czech capital.